This is the 30-day body blitz calculating calories and macronutrients video. So, how do we calculate calories? The truth is, it's a bit of a guessing game and it's a bit of trial and error. No way will ever be 100% accurate. We always need a starting point to calculate calories, and I would use the Harris-Benedict equation. We could work it out manually using loads of maths on a bit of paper, but I find it easier just to click on this website. This will be linked in the PDF. We're going to use this as an example. We have Paul. He's 35 years old. He's 182 centimetres. He weighs 176.6 pounds and he exercises 5 times a week. So when you click on the link, this is how it will come up. What we need to enter is the age, gender, weight, height, and how many times you're going to exercise a week. As you can see, it's calculated that his maintenance is 2,565 calories a day. Now you can either start off with maintenance calories or you can create a deficit. When I work with people, I always like to start off with their maintenance calories. The higher the calories, the better. If you look at the calculations they give you, they've created a 20% deficit. This is far too high. We don't want to use that bigger deficit. You'll end up losing not just fat, but muscle too. If anything, we only want to create a 10% deficit. Remember, when you exercise, that's going to create a bigger deficit too. This is how we're going to calculate a 10% deficit. So we take the starting calories, 2,565, divide that by 100 and times it by 90. So here's the maths. 2,565 divided by 100 equals 25.65. Times that by 90, so we want to create a 10% deficit, and it equals 2,308.5. We round it up to 2,309 calories. I hope you're still with me, because if you're like me, maths may not be one of your strong points. So we've worked out Paul's calories will be 2,309 calories per day. Now we need to calculate the macronutrients. So that's the amount of carbohydrates, fats and proteins that you're allowed in a day. First thing you need to do is work out what body type you are. If you still don't know what it is, click on this website and do this test. After doing this test, Paul come out as mesomorphic. So we went through this on the body typing slides, but we're going to go through it once again. So the macronutrient splits. Ectomorph, carbohydrates 45%, proteins 30%, fats 25%. Mesomorphs, carbs 35%, proteins 35%, fats 30%. And endomorphs, carbs 15%, proteins 35%, and fats 50%. Again, we can work them out manually, but for ease of use, we're going to use this website. So click on here, on the PDFs, and you can work out your macronutrients. So, this is what Paul's calories and macronutrients look like. So at the top, we've entered in Paul's calories, which from a 10% deficit is 2,309. Then, because he's a mesomorph, we worked out his split, which is carbs 35%, proteins 35%, and fats 30%. And as you can see down the bottom, it's come up with his results. So what you really want to look at is the grams per day. So carbohydrate, 202 grams, protein, 202 grams, and fats, 76 grams. Now I know it looks a bit confusing, but don't worry about the meal splits. All you need to know is the amount of grams that you need per day. So, you now know how many calories you need per day and you know your macronutrients. So, what do you do with this information? What you need to do now is download MyFitnessPal. If you have a smartphone or a tablet, download the app. So write MyFitnessPal in the search. I find it always easier to use on my phone as it's always with me. Before you begin as well, you're going to need some scales as you're going to be measuring your food. You can get these from any major supermarket, Argos or Amazon. Now you've downloaded FitnessPal, what you need to do is go into the settings and edit your profile. So you need to enter your height, your gender, and your date of birth. You then need to go into your goals and enter your calories and macronutrient split. If you don't do this, it will calculate it for you, and normally the calories are far too low. So this is done on the app through the iPhone. As you can see, I've entered the weight, weekly goal, and activity level. I've also put in the calories and the macronutrient split. Now you're ready to get going. I'm going to teach you how to use FitnessPal. Go into the diary settings where you can enter your foods. Press the plus button down the bottom and these options will pop up. Now I don't worry about all the other icons. All I worry about is the food icon. You're more than welcome to enter your weight and it will work out how many calories you burn per day, but don't worry too much about that. It will create you a bigger deficit. All I want you to really concentrate on the part that says food. It will then come up with these options where you can select a meal: breakfast, lunch, dinner or snacks. You can then add the meal that you're having. A good feature of MyFitnessPal is this multi-add button on the bottom. So what you do is click on it and you can add loads of foods instead of clicking, for example, dinner, add food, dinner, add food, dinner, add food. Just click this button and you can add as many foods as you want. Another nice feature is the scan button on the bottom right. So what you do is you can click on this and then you can scan the food you're having and enter the amount of grams of food that you're having of that item. What I've done here is I've added lots of foods to make up 2,309 calories. To check your macronutrients, you need to click on the top left where your goal calories are. As you can see, it's circled on the top left. So click on there. So when you click on it, it will come up with this nice little pie chart. As you can see, it shows the macronutrient split. Carbs blue, fats reds, protein greens. I'm 1% off. You're never going to get it entirely accurate. If you do, fair play to you. If you click on the top right, it will show you your specific macro and micronutrients. So if you click on that list button, it will list everything you've had for the day, so your macronutrients and your micronutrients. Remember, you're never going to get it exactly accurate. It's just an estimate, so it doesn't need to be spot on. Just try and get around them numbers. So why is this good? Okay, it gives you portion control. It can tell you where you're going right or wrong. For example, you can see that you're not having enough protein or you're not getting enough micronutrients in. It makes you make better food choices. As you're listing it down, you're more likely to eat better foods. It becomes a bit of a game. And it doesn't blow your diet by eating so-called bad foods. So you can just fit them in your macros. There's nothing wrong with having a bit of cake. You just fit it in. You just fit it in and carry on. So we've talked about why it's good to track calories, but there's also reasons why it's bad. See, it can become obsessive. People fall apart when they don't know how many grams of each food they're having. It's not great for social occasions. For example, you go to a restaurant and you're not in control. It's not exactly accurate, which we've talked about before. And also, it's a little time consuming, entering in all your macronutrients and calories into an app. I want you to realise you're not going to stick to them calories all the time. Obviously, as your weight comes down, calories will come down and macronutrients will come down. So you really need to recalculate your calories and macronutrients every 2 to 4 weeks. Don't make it obsessive and make it every week. As I said before, the higher the calories, the better. Right, now we're going to talk about IIFYM. You may have heard this before. It's called If It Fits Your Macros. And it's pretty current in the fitness industry right now, especially for bodybuilders. So, what the hell is If It Fits Your Macros? It was started by bodybuilders who got bored of eating plain foods. You can eat anything you like as long as it fits your calorie requirements and hits your macronutrient targets. It's sometimes called flexible dieting. So for an example, people can eat Pop-Tarts and still hit their carbohydrate requirements. It's good for bodybuilders because they're used to eating the same foods every day. For example, chicken, rice, broccoli and oats. And it also gives you a psychological boost as it doesn't feel like you're dieting. So for example, you can have biscuits and cakes and you're not restricted. The bad bits of If It Fits Your Macros. So, some people stick to too much junk food. So they eat rubbish for breakfast, rubbish for lunch, and rubbish for dinner. So they have a lack of micronutrients and vitamins. Sometimes it makes you more likely to make bad food choices. And a lot of the time you can eat a lot more processed meats and trans fats. What you need to remember is you need to stick to them wholesome, nutritious, single ingredient foods. As long as it's mostly that, a bit of bad food or a bit of cake is not going to kill you. So that's how you calculate macronutrients and calories if you want to lean up. But what if you want to put on muscle? Then what do you do? It's actually kind of the same. What you need to do is calculate your maintenance, then add around 500 to 1,000 calories. Remember, when trying to add muscle, calories need to come up. Your aim is to try to put on muscle without adding too much fat. The problem is most people do this bulking phase where they just eat loads of rubbish. No, we want to keep calories where you're adding muscle and not adding too much body fat. That's the optimal way to do it. Remember to limit the cardio as this burns calories. Stick to the weight training. Make sure you track your weights as you should always be progressing and overloading. As always, if you have any questions, please ask them on the Facebook group. Next up, we have supplementation.